Changes in the justice system set to begin during the new legal year.
The Prime Minister offering advice on enhancing tourism.
And the Anglican Church celebrates the Feast of the Epiphany. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The new legal year is set to open tomorrow, and efforts are being made to make the justice system more efficient. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Chris Saunders.
I'm Keisha Latterly. As Fern Carey tells us, among the changes will be the jury system, which is being completely revamped.
The jury system will see tremendous changes. It will be revamped to allow for an expanded jury pool while closing the loopholes in the system. This according to Minister of State for Legal Affairs, Damian Gomez.
Until we actually started looking at the legislation, some of the things that we had assumed as being followed, we found out weren't in fact being followed. And we found out that it was possible to share data with agencies of the government, and that data sharing had not in fact been taking place, so that persons who would otherwise have been easily reached.
Gomez says family islanders will be chosen to serve as jurors this year in order to expand the jury pool.
Once they'd been selected, they'd been notified through a series of means. The administrator's office will play a part in that. We'll also be publishing names with national insurance numbers in newspapers and on television, so that we will enable persons to know that they've been selected without actually identifying where they live. And in some instances, because it's a national insurance card number that is personal to each individual.
Now, once family islanders have been selected to serve on a jury, the government will foot the bill for their accommodations and airfare, according to Gomez.
A lot of time is wasted in the criminal justice process through persons not turning up. And in some instances, they haven't in fact been notified of the fact that they should be there, so that by just addressing that issue alone, we hope to close a major loophole of inefficiency in the system.
Meantime, the legal year is set to open tomorrow. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Police charged a second man in connection with that drive-by shooting in Fox Hill, which left 3 men and a woman dead. The defendant, 25-year-old Dorset Street resident Jermaine Curry, appeared in court today. He's accused of the deaths of 4 people and the attempted murders of 7. In court today, Curry was not required to enter a plea, and a voluntary bill of indictment will be filed. Now, bail was denied and he's been remanded to prison. The case has been adjourned to March 18th. Another man was arraigned in connection with the incident yesterday. Police need your help in solving a shooting incident which left a man detained in hospital. According to reports, just after 9 o'clock last night, a 30-year-old man was on Turtle Drive off Carmichael Road when a male armed with a handgun reportedly shot him in the neck before fleeing in a silver hatchback vehicle. The victim was taken to hospital where he's detained in critical condition. Investigations are ongoing.
Also tonight, authorities have recognized the crime trend that often leads to not only murder, but also the high rate of murder the Bahamas has been experiencing. National Security Minister, the Honorable Dr. Bernard Nottage, explained this common thread that often ends in death. It's a threat the government is working to cut down.
Most of the crime we are concerned about is associated with illegal drugs and illegal firearms. And if we can reduce the drugs in our community and reduce the firearms in our community, we'll have a tremendous impact on homicides.
Still on crime, we've got more details to share from our exclusive interview with the Prime Minister. A new initiative by the government to arrest the crime dilemma in the country is the implementation of saturation patrols.
Prime Minister Christie admits that while this initiative was likened to beefing up patrols in the area and increasing the number of officers in hotspot communities, there's a critical component which will be evident. Clint Watson has more on the National Crime Plan.
Key to the war on crime, says Prime Minister Perry Christie, will be the implementation of saturation patrols.
A continuous, uninterrupted presence of law enforcement officers in a community, in a segment of a community, where that decision is both strategic and protective of the community.
The Prime Minister notes the purpose is to not only intercept persons with criminal intent, but also to ensure regular visits are made to those out on bail, ensuring they comply with their conditions. Referring to a map showing where murders, armed robbery of tourists, shootings, home invasions, and traffic fatalities took place in 2013, Mr. Christie confirmed that most of the crime is being committed in the inner city communities of Bain and Grantstown, Centerville, and Farm Road. Both areas are represented by the Prime Minister and the National Security Minister. But Mr. Christie maintains saturation patrols, allowing police vehicles to stay in the area, holds the answer.
I'm saying I want uniformed police officers with marked cars, but I also want policing by stealth. I want police officers in plain clothes and unmarked cars operating in there also. Because the intention is to keep on adding resources to this area where people who live in this area have the confidence that the government is giving them 100% support, and the people who are engaged in criminal activity, either coming from outside to cause havoc in the community, or people from inside, will know with certainty that even if we were not there on that spot, in minutes we will be on the spot. But they will know that that is a real deterrent to their action. Because wherever the drug houses are, wherever the criminal activities are, the intention is we are locking down in here.
Urban Renewal has now been instructed by the Prime Minister to engage in house-to-house visitations so public policy can be informed about general conditions and challenges in these homes.
I want, therefore, not to lose sight of the fact that as we bring the hammer in here, we're also bringing the Healy. Now, the question then it says, this is where tourists get robbed. Up here, in the city area by a ladies' church, you can see here. So clearly that covers, the saturation covers that area as well. It goes right out to Bay Street. Now, these other areas, Fox Hill, patrols will be in hotspots. Wherever those hotspots are, the police know. And what we're saying is, do not touch what you've allocated in here. What you do is learn from it.
Now, the Prime Minister suggests that a situation room be implemented at police headquarters manned by senior officers who can monitor saturation patrols and determine whether or not more or less resources are needed. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Officials arrested 6 male Cuban nationals early this morning. A joint effort between police in Inagua and immigration officials took into custody the males around 1:40 a.m. Officers acting on intelligence arrested the men at the public dock in Inagua. Police Assistant Superintendent James Moss told us that the males were attempting to make their way to the Dominican Republic when they encountered some difficulties because of the weather. Police also confiscated a 15-foot outboard fishing boat owned by the migrants. The men, who all appear to be in good health, were flown into New Providence by immigration officials.
You know, we'll first look at whether that Arctic blast has plunged temperatures in the upper 50s around Grand Bahama and some upper 60s here in the capital. But outside of our studios, we have cloudy skies. Your temperature already down to 68 degrees, relative humidity 83%, winds out of the northeast at 10 knots, barometric pressure 1,020.7 millibars. That's 30.14 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Family Violence, travel, and boating forecast is still to come.
And still ahead tonight, motorists, you'll want to hear about the work being done on the Paradise Island Bridge tonight.
And then hear how the entertainment community is paying tribute to the late King Eric Gibson. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.